Hi, I'm Emerald,
I'm Henry,
and this is...
the Spot. So, I saw Cruella last week. Did I like it? I mean, kinda. There were some good parts, and there were some bad parts. But I think the problem with Cruella isn't actually with Cruella. It's with Disney. Surprise, surprise.
In preparation for this video, I've watched Cruella about 5 full times, and more than that, slowly scrubbing through it looking at the details. And I've got to say, it's kind of a blast. Is it a good movie? Not especially, but no one can argue that it isn't well produced and well made. Almost all the problems are narrative ones, and none of them are especially the fault of the writers. See, the problem with Cruella is that the movie is about Cruella de Vil. Ironic that a movie about a rebellious artist is one of the most by-the-books pieces of art this year, but before we get into that, let's talk about the good parts of this movie.
Okay, so the cast is easily the best part of this film. Emma Stone has been delivering show-stopping performance after show-stopping performance, and she absolutely owns the character she plays. However, she doesn't really play Cruella de Vil, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Emma Thompson manages to deliver an even better performance than Stone, and as the Baroness, she takes control of every scene she's in. She's easily the best part of the movie. Jasper and Horace are both likable and are pretty good as comic relief. I like the gimmicky side characters too, like the twitchy assistant to the Baroness, and I really like the department store manager.
Breeding. Need I say more?
Anita and Roger, however, are pretty shoehorned in at best, and they were... whatever. I feel nothing for them.
The licensed music, as overplayed as it is, and we'll get to that later, is pretty good, especially in these scenes.
Baroness!
The score, the few times that it's actually used, is evocative in the moment, albeit somewhat forgettable.
The beginning is half good, half bad, and paced alright. The movie really shines in the second act, and the quick pace works well to its advantage. I especially like the section in the middle where Cruella keeps upstaging the Baroness. One way or another bangs, the costume design really shines, and I like the stylized newspaper clippings. And narratively, it shows us that Cruella and the Baroness are equally talented fashion designers. I also like this section because the movie gets to have fun with itself, and kinda leans into the campy vibe. Unlike other parts of the movie, the writers aren't desperately trying to shoehorn in 101 references to make you go, hey, that was in the other movie. This allows the movie to just be itself without being a sequel movie.
In Cruella, right when Estella gets her job at the department store, there's this sick shot. It cuts to an overhead of Estella walking across the street, and the camera stays above her, passing through a window. It comes down and rotates a few times through the department store main floor, and at this point, we don't know exactly what Estella is doing at the store, so we get a kinda, ooh, where's she gonna be kind of feeling. The camera goes into a back room and down some more stairs, and after some more cool technical stuff, we show up at Estella, scrubbing the bathroom floor. I eat this shit up. I'm a sucker for a good long take, and in this case, it actually has the narrative purpose of showing Estella starting at the bottom. Horace and Jasper get her in the door, but Estella needs to be the one to take initiative if she wants to make it. Or maybe Cruella does. You could argue that this whole camera move sets up her entire character arc.
But this technical feat got me thinking, God, Disney has the largest budget of any studio today, and they do. That tracking shot is nothing to them, because they have all the money in the world to throw at camera tech. The casting, as we raved about earlier, also stems from Disney's deep pockets. The House of Mouse can really do anything it wants. So why do they keep making these dog shit spin-off movies? I guess it's time to talk about the best.
This is gonna sound ironic, coming from someone whose favorite MCU movie is Guardians 1, but I hated the licensed music here. Let me rephrase. I hated the usage of licensed music here. Every song goes hard, but it's just too much. This movie is almost wall-to-wall needle drops, using a whopping 33 licensed songs, And I've seen this movie 5 times, and the only needle drop set piece that I actually remember is Blondie's One Way or Another in the middle of the movie. I forgot almost every other song in this movie, which is amazing, considering it has the Bee Gees, The Clash, Electric Light Orchestra, and Queen. It's a general rule of thumb in your movies to keep your licensed music light, to make each needle drop more effective and more evocative. I was honestly surprised to hear the constant music coming from music supervisor Susan Jacobs, who has 137 supervising credits under her belt, not to mention some great movies like Promising Young Woman and Leave No Trace, and guys, these 2 movies are fantastic. You need to watch them both if you haven't already.
I also dislike these stupid CGI dogs and their magic powers. I like my Disney movies to be campy, but the fact that these dogs have seemingly the same level of intelligence as their owners is annoying. No, dogs cannot open doors like this, sneak through air vents, and they cannot learn complex plans like this one. It kills my suspension of disbelief. It annoys me how the writers seem to just not care about how things get done as long as they can get from one plot point to the next, and the fact that they always use the magic dogs pisses me off. Same goes for these big CGI Dalmatians, which are glaringly unreal and also have magic powers in the form of appreciating soccer. Oh, and this flying double dragon backflip whatever the judo kick. Ironic, considering the writers could give a crouching tiger flying fuck about the script.
I don't like this first scene with Artie. This line
Around Cinderella, I have everything a girl or boy could ever want.
was annoying and feels like it was written by a super straight. I also feel like Disney still doesn't know how to write an authentic gay character, and it's annoying as all hell. Also, I don't like these child actors in this beginning scene. They're trying so hard, but every time this little baby Jasper opens his mouth, it makes me actually angry. Also, the whole opening makes no sense narratively, and, well, I guess this is a good enough segue as any into our big problem with Cruella.
This movie is terribly written, and honestly, it's not entirely the fault of the writers, despite my earlier comment. There's easily fixable bad writing,
Or boy.
but my biggest problem is the connection to 101 Dalmatians. You all knew this was coming, but here we go. This movie has the most janky f***ing connections to the original 101. No, we're not going into the animated versus live action thing. This movie is clearly trying to serve as a prequel to the animated 101, and I don't want to argue that. Anyways, there's a lot of issues, but I think the biggest tell is Jasper's character. Look back to the animated version. Jasper kicks cats for fun, is clearly not Cruella's friend, and he's perfectly okay with skinning puppies. Movie Jasper would never do this. I love Jasper's character in Cruella. He's sympathetic, funny at times, and has a decent arc, but it just doesn't line up. And what were the writers supposed to do? Cut Jasper out? But then they would have to introduce new side characters for Estella to interact with, and then find reasons for them to not be in 101. Or have Estella be alone the whole movie. It's a difficult challenge to write this, and I don't see any easy solution.
And this Jasper thing is applicable to almost any character in the movie. Roger in 101 didn't give any indication that he would have known Cruella. Cruella herself obviously would never do any of the things that she does in 101. And not only does this movie not make sense as a prequel, it has other narrative problems as well, especially when it comes to the pacing. The entire opening sequence drags like molasses, then rubber bands to f***ing NASCAR pace. The whole school thing is slow and boring and feels super on the nose with its messaging.
But I wasn't for everyone. I am woman. Hear me roar.
Admittedly, this principal guy is f***ing hilarious, but once she leaves the school, it speeds up so fast. Her mother dies, and in theaters, when I saw that they were going with f***ing Dalmatians killed her parents in order to justify her skinning Dalmatians in 101, I laughed out loud. And I don't think it makes sense for the mom to go back, but you know what, whatever. Anyways, she ends up just hopping into a truck to the fountain of voiceover exposition, and then meets Jasper and Horace, and then, bam, it's Emma Stone. From there, it picks up a bit. I think the thieving montage is fun, although I don't need the Emma Stone voiceover.
A family that's good at stealing stuff.
I really like how they edit this sequence.
And I pulled a couple of strings.
I gotcha! You thought I didn't see you now.
I love liberty.
And then she works at the store. I don't like this part as much, and I think it's again way too direct with its messaging. Getting her fingers crushed and subsequently trash dumped on her head is annoyingly on the nose.
Really?
Even though we get this hilarious store manager guy,
Breeding. Need I say more?
who is one of my favorite side characters, I don't think he's worth this whole sequence. But then the Baroness gets her sick entrance and Emma Thompson steals the entire f***ing movie.
Like we said, this middle section feels fantastic. There's sloppy parts for sure, and too much music, but the fast pace is refreshing and the plot beats are original. I completely love the way they set up the moth thing. It's so perfect. I love this part. Then, the third act and the fun, fast, and fresh middle comes to a grinding halt with the Baroness is my mother reveal. Now, Mark Strong is fine in this movie, but I hate how he just becomes the exposition guy from here on out. Complete underuse of the character. But the biggest problem with this third act is, again, the connections to 101. The writers wrote their origin to make Estella sympathetic, and had a blast with the middle part. But it's like they started writing the climax and were all like, oh shit, we forgot to shoehorn in connections to 101 Dalmatians. And this movie goes to shit. The entire climax makes no sense, from the Baroness not hearing anyone come out, to Estella showing for the second time in a row that she is basically a god in terms of fashion design, and her fully changing into Cruella and basically going back in time to see the Baroness arrested. But that's not what I hate about this. I hate the way none of it wraps up properly. Estella is nice, Jasper is nice, Horace is Horace, and no one is in place for 101. This movie demands a sequel in order for the first one to function properly. And that's what really annoys me here.
But the real problem with this movie isn't plot holes or annoying music or uncanny valley CGI dogs. It's the fact that this is a Cruella movie when it so clearly wasn't meant to be. Imagine that this movie wasn't a Cruella movie, but instead it was about a group of thieves pulling off heists around London in the middle of the punk rock revolution, Ocean's 101 style. It probably wouldn't have been great, but it would have been a whole fucking blast. And most importantly, it would have been completely original. And could have reminded people that there can be good movies that don't belong to a franchise, and that aren't trying to win an Oscar. Most of Disney's live-action remakes have been straight-up garbage, whether it's The Lion King, Mulan, or Will Smith's demo reel, but the sad thing is that this movie actually had good ideas and heart, but now it only stands as a testament to Disney's inability to innovate or try anything new. And that brings me to my next point, because while I certainly blame Disney for this atrocity, I blame something else more. I blame...
Disney is a corporation. It makes these remakes because for the most part, they make money, and Disney can afford it if they flop. But it wasn't always this way. Back in the 1920s, Disney almost died out as fast as it started with only one hit, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, followed by two back-to-back flops, Pinocchio and Fantasia. So what did Disney do? They made US propaganda films, of course, but they also made a little movie called Cinderella. It was low budget, but nonetheless captured hearts with its story and characters, and went down like many other Disney movies, as a classic. But when was the last time you saw a classic from Disney? Or anybody else for that matter? When was the last time you saw How to Train Your Dragon or a Kung Fu Panda that wasn't a sequel to those? And that's DreamWorks, not Disney. There are still good movies today, but none of them are classics, and it seems the old classics aren't talked about as much, if they ever were at all. This is one of the reasons we wanted to start this channel, to talk about film and how it's changed. But what if I told you there were other live-action remakes of Disney classics, and not only are they better, some of them are better than the original animated versions? Let me explain. They're called Star Kid, and they make live theatrical parodies of Disney classics. These productions aim to retell Disney classics, but with a twist and more adult humor. The best one is widely considered to be Twisted, where they retell Aladdin, but this time from Jafar's point of view, painting him as the misunderstood hero, while Aladdin is the pompous asshole who only wants the princess so he can do that thing that'll get us demonetized. They're all incredibly funny and are made by people who care about storytelling. And you want to know the best part? They're all on YouTube, so you can watch them for free.
Sorry, long rant, but the TLDR here is, Disney needs to make some new movies, some new content, and they're not going to do that until audiences stop paying to see these new movies, these uninspired remakes. When it comes down to it, the film industry is just that, an industry. An industry exists to make money, and so it comes down to us as audience members to help dictate what does and does not make money. If we show Disney that we're willing to go and see their original projects, they're just going to make more. It's simple supply and demand. Conversely, refusing to see these reboots and spin-offs in theaters will also help show Disney what we want to watch. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch these movies. Remakes and reboots are gonna happen no matter what, and sometimes they're good. We're saying that you should advocate to see new original movies in addition to these aforementioned uninspired remakes. Because I enjoy the live-action movies, sometimes, but I would like to see a new, inspired idea that can be backed up with Disney's $100 billion budget.
And how do you do this? Just don't pay to see them. With the rise of Disney Plus, you can wait for it to come out on streaming. Or even better, get a library card, place a hold on the DVD, and wait a month or so to watch these movies. I know it seems appealing to waste an evening with a mindless theater experience, but I tell you this. If we could convince Disney to make just a few new projects in their sea of remakes, maybe you could spend your afternoon watching a genuinely moving, emotional, hell, maybe a life-changing film. In the end, it comes down to you. With these reboots, you know exactly what you're getting into. You don't need to see it on opening weekend. Just wait a while. Watch it on streaming or DVD. Put it on your home screen with your friends. Enjoy the experience, but show Disney that we want and expect better content. Of course, that doesn't apply to us because we're forced to review this shit.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Consider waiting out these Disney spin-offs in the hope of a future of better movies. Subscribe if you like, and feel free to argue with us in the comments. Here's next essay's teaser frame. I've been Emerald,
Henry,
and this has been
the Spotlight.